This is JRR, and today we're going over the topic Mary Sue, Gary Stu. This is both a roleplay topic and, of course, a writing topic, and pretty much movie topic. So, let's go ahead and cut the crap and get right into this. Who here has seen the Resident Evil movie series? Okay. For those of you who have not, this example probably won't mean jack squat to you, but follow along, it'll probably ding a note or two. In the first two movies, there's evolution. Don't mind the background noise, Sam's playing on a different computer with a learning program. But there's two movies, the first two are just premise and development that show some stages of evolution. I've gone over this before, premise, development, evolution. I've gone over this before. But the first two movies, that's what they mainly cover. But the third movie, the would-be Road Warrior of the series. I don't know why they didn't just remake Road Warrior, but whatever. It's too taboo to do anything from Mel. No, we don't do anything from Mel. We don't redo any of those. But we'll do everything from Schwarzenegger to Stallone. Different topic for a different day. By the Road Warrior movie, she was almost Mary Sue, Gary Stu-ish. She had a whole bunch of abilities, and she was developing them to become stronger, more impossible to beat, etc. She still had failings. She still had flaws. That was the saving grace. And I bring this up because the way things work is in most roleplay situations, in most story writing, people forget to give their character a challenge. On the flip side, the Mary Sue, Gary Stu thing, it's highly predictable items.
Ice cream.
Now, what do I mean by highly predictable? Well, if it's highly predictable, it would be a Mary Stu, Gary Stu kind of thing, right? Wrong. Female warriors. All female warriors, what? What has happened to all female warriors? Well, when they were younger, they were raped. That's a given. Why is that a given? Because that seems to be their driving motivational fact. They don't want to be controlled anymore. They don't want it to happen to them anymore. They want to be stronger. It's commonplace to expect if it's a female warrior, they have been raped at some point in time. Which is why people were so enthralled with the martial arts movie when the female character was a fighter. It's like, wait, were they raped? No, they actually took up fighting. In fact, I have here, what I'm looking at right now, on my screen, is an actual test to tell if you are a Mary Sue, Gary Stu thing. Part 1 covers all characters, Part 2 covers original fiction, Part 3 fan characters, Part 4 is RPG, Part 5 is decillifiers, whatever. Questions that subtract from the problem. Pretty much all these questions that come up, you're permitted to mark yes or no. And as you're going down the list, and it's a fair amount of questions actually, 80, 90, 94 questions. 94 questions on Part 1. That covers every character on the list. Part 2, original fiction characters. That means characters that you would bring up. Characters that you would invent. There's about 10 questions here. Here's an example of a question. Does your character have markedly more romance and or sex than any other regular character? AKA the Kirk syndrome. What is the Kirk syndrome? Well, for those of you who have not seen the old Gene Roddenberry Captain Kirk adventures of Star Trek, T-R-E-K, Trek. There's a difference between Trek and Wars, people. There really is a difference. I'm not one who's going to sit here and beat you over the head with it, but there is a difference. In Star Trek, Captain James T. Kirk is pretty much a pimp. I'll put the link down at the bottom of this. In fact, let me make a note real quick so I don't forget, because every time I say I do that, I end up forgetting. Space Rapist. Now, I know some of y'all just heard me say space rapist, and you're probably sitting there like, did he seriously just say space rapist? Yes, it's about how people viewed it. It's pretty much every episode, or every other episode, where Captain James T. Kirk got alien ass. He got to tap that ass. He got to... he got to do that to an alien female. Of course, the second part of this is a three-part question. The first question was pretty much, does your character have Kirk syndrome? Part one of this question is, do they have more sex than everyone else combined? Kirk, again, applies here. Even though there is no good reason why the other characters can't get a date. Which is B. Now, what does this mean? Let's break this down. Ramen 1/2 is known as a harem-styled romantic action comedy. Same with Tenchi Muyo and all that. Ryoga would be considered a good-looking boy, but he doesn't get many dates. He gets one in every blue moon. Meanwhile, Rama has like 3 girls chasing him non-stop at least. We see a problem here. Even though the guy's fairly good-looking, why is he not getting a date? Could he not get a date? Yes, he can get a date. He doesn't want to get a date. There's a difference. Now, there's a lot more questions here, but there's 10 on this section. Then part 3 is fan characters, pretty much for all together newcomers. Fiction characters are... Okay, I'm sorry, I misinterpreted this one. I apologize. In part 2, fiction characters are Rama Saotome, Bruce Wayne, things of that nature. Pretty much characters who already have a premise set up, but they're not real-life people. It's not about Christopher Columbus, per se. Now that I think about it, it's going to be a little bit more complicated when people go, what about Abraham Lincoln? He's a fictional character, but he's also one of the original presidents way back in the day. Would he be real life or fictional? Well, it depends on how you're looking at it. If you're going with that Abraham Lincoln zombie, killing, vampire hunting, whatever the fuck ever else, then that's the fictional one. That's part 2. Part 3 is your newcomers, your original concept characters, your OCC. Those characters. Characters that you have made within a universe or your own universe that have their own things going. And there's about 43 questions on that. Now, with that being said, since you're not going to answer part 2 and part 3, since you're not going to answer both of these scores are taken into effect. Part 1, everyone answers that. Doesn't care, doesn't matter. Everyone answers part 1. Part 2 or part 3 is what you'll answer next, depending on what your character is. In my case, since Laser is completely original and created and is considered, quote, a newcomer, I would go to part 3. Well, when I roleplayed as Batman, I would have to go to part 2. See how that works? Because Batman's already created and he's a canon character and he's established, I would have to go to part 2 because it's an already created character. It's already been done. It's already been established. And I'm roleplaying as this character, I have to answer in that context. Meanwhile, Laser, who is not on any books, not in anything besides what I've made, would be under part 3, the newcomer, original character concept, etc. Which is why there's 43 questions in that. Part 4 is only if you're testing a roleplay character, like if you're going to go into Dungeons & Dragons, or in many cases, if you're on Facebook, answer part 4. If you're on AOL and you're in a roleplay community, answer part 4. If you're in any roleplay community with this character, answer part 4. Period. Alright, like I said, this applies across the board. Now, after you finish all these questions, or the questions that apply, at the very bottom, it'll give you your score. It'll say your total is such and such. And you hit reset and it'll clear out everything. Underneath that, a little space down, it'll give you what the scores mean. Now, I've done this with Laser, and I've done this with Saber, and both of them, they didn't cross the line. They ran to the line, and they're really close on it, but they are clear. With that said, the questions that are asked here aren't all simple, oh, do you have every power in the book? No, it's not asking that question. It's asking you pretty much a lot of their generalized questions. I mean, here's a question for part 1. I'm going to take a random one. I'm going to go with question number 12. We'll go with question 12. Does your character have any of the following? A. Natural eye coloration not normally found in their race or species. So that means if you're playing as, say, Goku, he has hazel eyes. No, the fucker does not. A good example of this being brought up in a popular canon character, Ryu Hayabusa, a Japanese man with bright green eyes. What the f... You get the point. B. Eyes with any other unusual qualities. Now, I know some of you are thinking, hey, you could look up 9/10 of the anime, because some of them have weird cat slits in them, some of them have the weird yin-yang signs in them, some of the characters in Naruto have weird eyes. That's what they're talking about, the weird, unusual qualities. C. Natural hair color not normally found in their species or race. Pink-haired Sakura. One example. Unusual features of any other kind. Particularly English is my first language. I passed 2 freaking courses of English, and yet I cannot say particularly. I still can't say it, even when I'm being bullshitty. Particularly unusual, exotic birthmark, tattoo, blood color, or things of that nature. AKA, if you cut Batman's arm, does he start bleeding vibrant orange or some shit? If they do have anything particularly unusual, an exotic birthmark, a tattoo, or blood color, or anything else that would fall into this category, please mark the box, and they give you 5 boxes. And that's just question 12. So you see, it's not asking, are they perfect? No, they're asking you for different things. And that's across the board. So, like I said, that link's going to go up there too. This way you can do your own little test on your character, find out if you are or not a Mary Sue, Gary Stu. Now, with all that said, let's go over... I've already given the example of, like, the female warriors. The number one thing that happened to a female warrior happens to be rape. They were raped at some point in their life, which is why they became such powerful warriors, and why they will have no man touch them, and why this and why that. Red Sonja? Anyone? Red Sonja? Anyone seen Red Sonja? No? No one? Few? Hi, how you doing? Red Sonja is pretty much along this line as well. Family killed. She was raped. And now she wants revenge on the person who organized the murdering, destruction of her stuff, and the defloweration of her. Again, good reason to have it, but normally when it's a female character and they're a fighter type, you start going, let me guess, someone came and killed your parents and raped you. Hell, I think that's probably why Project Echo actually originally got a cult following, because Echo is a fighter type. She has both her parents. She lives in a nice little spot. It's not destroyed or anything. And she has not been raped. But why is she a fighter? She's not a strong fighter, mind you. She took up fighting to defend her friend, Seiko. And she took up just enough of it to where she was proficient in not getting herself killed. That was it. No real skill, no super techniques. No, just enough to deal with the situation at hand. That's it. Why? Because she's had powers and all that happy stuff, so she's taken enough of a fighting style to complement that, and that's about it. Which is why she's not Mary Sue, Gary Stu. Now that I said all this, look back on your character and see if you fall there or not. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because some people don't quite understand. Now, there are some phrases you shouldn't say, or else you will expedite being called a Mary Sue, Gary Stu. And I say this across the board. This is for everybody, not just one or two people. This is for everybody. First thing, if your character is a fighter type and you can sit there and say the following line, I'm never going to lose a fight. I'm never going to lose. No, I will not ever lose a fight. It will not happen. It does not happen. Ever. Doesn't matter if it's a skirmish or... I just won't lose. I never lose. I never lose. There's a difference between saying that... Like, out of character, you can say that all day long. That's fine. But if you say that in character, and you have never even remotely lost a fight, or have everything set up to where you will not lose a fight, you might want to consider thinking about where you stand. This can also apply to god modding, but god modding and puppeteering, the Mary Stu stuff, Gary Stu, does apply to it. Because you know your character is perfect. You won't lose a fight. You can't be stopped. No one's going to hurt you. What the fuck ever. Now some people sit there and go, I'm the perfect fighter. Oh, but there are tricks around this and that and the other thing. But I'm the perfect fighter. What? Laser is insane. I brought this up before. And it's constant because you can always see two thought boxes. You'll see the blue, which is like the angel thought box, and you see the red, which is the devil thought box, per se. Crimson, the devil thought box, is highly mathematical. That shows Laser's subconscious mathematical features. Boom, 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 boom. Very good at mathematics. Very good at numbers. But the sense of using said numbers is not always there. This is why most of the time he's right when he's talking about people, because he uses numbers and he's basing everything off of numbers. If you walk into a wall, that's blue, but you never walk into a red wall. Then my logical standpoints and mathematics, if there's a red wall, you're going to hit it. If out of 10 times you've hit the wall 10 times, and only because the color is red on it, then by logically speaking, by number 11, you're going to walk into another red wall. Duh. Now, I brought all that up. That's just on Laser, okay? That's Laser's logic, and the reason why I jumped here is because I went into a lot of examples, and y'all don't need to know all of these examples. One thing I really suggest is answer the quiz and find out if you are a Mary Sue, Gary Stu. Find out if your character is or not. But another thing I could suggest, the Mary Sue, Gary Stu thing is a derogatory term saying that your character is pretty much either overly cliche or Mr. or Mrs. Perfect. No one knows who I am, but I walk into the room and everybody loves me. I am Mr. Perfect. I have a charisma. Out of 20, I have a 20 charisma. Out of strength, I have a 20 strength. Out of intelligence, I have a 20 intelligence. Out of stamina, I have a 20 stamina. I am 20 across the board. I'm a 10 in looks. Because I'm awesome that way. I have the hair that all people like. And yes, I can't toss my hair because I don't have fucking hair to toss. I am the smartest there is, the strongest there is. I am, in essence, Superman from the Alpha universe. I'm Superman Alpha. I am Superman Prime. I am the first. I am the best. I can see at a subatomic level and can answer all these life questions. Questions of life. I can answer those in under 3 seconds or less. I am the best jock out there. I'm the best nerd out there. I am the greatest debater out there. I am all around perfect. That is the one version of a Gary Stu, Mary Sue. Just perfect. Just walks in the room, boom, has slow motion instruments, and everyone's like, oh, I want to do him, or I want to be him. It's one of those kind of things, and you're like, ah, my head hurts. Ah. One of those kind of moments. Like James Bond, supposed to be a great example of this. He walks into a room and everyone wants to be him or wants him wants to be him, wants to do him, or wants him dead. There is nothing in the... There's no one that's going to sit there and look at him and go, meh. No, there's none of that. His charisma is so high, it's, you want to be him, you want to do him, or you want to kill him. You're stuck in one of these three. You cannot be meh. You cannot be meh. You just can't be meh about him. That's kind of what the Mary Sue, Gary Stu thing is going on about. You're given any task and you magically excel at it. You know everything that needs to be known. And if you don't know it right off the bat, then give you about 5 seconds or less and you'll have an answer. Cut it out, boy. There's no other way to say it. There's not. So it's either exceedingly cliche or exceedingly perfect. I can go on about beating this into the ground, but like I said, I'm just going to put the link down here. We're going to see how many of you follow the issue 2. Have yourselves a good day.